Well, hello and welcome to Viewer Exclusive here on Viewer Television. On this episode of Viewer Exclusive, we're going to be looking at a lot of happenings in the country. There's been a lot that has happened in the past week, both political, security-wise. There's been a lot of concern amongst Nigerians, among the citizenry of the nation. And in this program today, we're going to be drawing views and analysis. And of course, I won't be doing this alone. I'll be joined by an expert who is a political commentator. As you always, my name is Chinonso Chekwas. Join me again after the break. Yeah, many thanks for staying with me on Viewer Exclusive here on Viewer Television. And like I informed you before we went on that short break that I'll be joined by a political commentator. His name is Ejiro Onueta. He is a lecturer at the City Polytechnic of Abuja. Thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you, Chinonso.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you. So let's go straight into the matters of the day. First of all, is a point of concern for every Nigerian. Nigerians now are living in fear. People cannot move freely. I personally, my doors are locked earlier than normal because of a rising case of kidnapping and banditry, especially in the nation's capital. We've seen the minister of the FCT. Thankfully, we feel like he's listening to us because we felt like he has been too much concerned in politics in Rivers, but I think now he's come back and he wants to handle the issues based on his proclamations, his declarations and moves. Do you see an end to this in sight, and is he making the right and necessary moves to see that insecurity is being curbed?
Well, first off, the minister is a very dogged person, and he likes to really match action with his words. So I'll give it to him because 2 days ago there was a meeting in Buhari. They had a town hall meeting where he came personally to address the people, to tell them that, okay, government, we are trying to put up some measures in place to really tackle this insecurity, and I think they are really going in the right direction because a lot of persons have been wondering, when will the minister speak? And he has spoken. And it's time for him now to match action with the word. Because from what we've seen, with all that has happened within the week, you could really see that something drastic needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that, who knows? Anybody can be a victim. And for individuals, you need to first put your security first. Like you said, your doors are always shut earlier than they used to. So every other person, it seems like our night life is gradually becoming something else because a lot of persons no longer see the need to go out at night because most of these things, if you're not careful, some group of guys will just round you up and the next thing you're in their den. So there are three things. I happened to speak with some security experts, and they told me about the 3 R's. Okay. The 3 R's is response, review, and recover. You know, response in the sense that if you are giving numbers out for people to call, that's on the side of the security now, your response times need to be very fast. They need to respond on time because I've heard a lot of persons say, when they came under attack, they call these numbers, they don't get any response. Or when they get response, it's rather too late and all
they're
that.
calling the right numbers that were put out.
Yes. So I think they need to really look at these 3 R's. You know, the response times should be very fast, because you know how these things happen. It's more like a guerrilla hit. They hit you, they just move into thin air, so to speak. And you know, they need to review the approach and then check the modus operandi of these bandits. In most times, you see they come from either neighboring towns bordering other towns. You know, like what we have in Buhari. They come either from Kaduna, using the mountains and all that. So the security agent need to review some of these their modus operandi. What do they really need to do? The IG of police say is going to bring out the what's it called now? The
SIS.
The respond. I can't remember the complete acronym for it again, but they are going to bring out some of these special squad.
The
Okay,
special intervention
squad. Right. Now, bringing these guys, they need to be strategic. Where do you want to place these guys? Because for me, if you ask me, I think they should put these guys in some of those routes, those bushes, where these guys, this known route, because
Do
some
we know
persons,
the routes? You're saying known routes. So
yes,
we know
some
the
persons
routes.
that were kidnapped, that came out of that kidnappers' den, they were able to tell you that, okay, they take us through so place. So the security agencies need to interface with these persons, all right, so that they can be able to place some of these security persons in those routes, okay, to be able to stop this from happening. Sometimes, if you flood the whole town with security men, these guys still find a way of coming in. But when you block these routes with the security agencies, it becomes very difficult for them to come in, all right? And then another thing is, you probably educate people on how to probably defend themselves. Don't make it that easy for them to just come
Remember,
pick
we're
you.
not open carrying communities.
Yes,
so
yes.
How do you defend yourself?
Well, defend yourself could mean anything that you can use to defend yourself. That is legal.
That is legal.
That is legal, because
As
you
against
can't,
people with arms.
yes, you can't go carry arms when they are not licensed and all that.
So I was saying, as against people with arms,
well, anything that is legal,
you used to defend yourself.
you can use it to defend yourself. If defending yourself means to run away or to go hide or whatever, you just have to do it.
Like we've seen this funny meme going around that we don't know the facts that where NYC has told serving coppers to form relationship with their kidnappers. Well, I don't know the sense in that.
That takes me to what the Israelis do. You know, they make sure all of their graduates pass through some form of military training. I think the NYC need to inculcate that into their system. You know, if once you go for NYC, they give you some military training as well.
So
on
that's
self-defense.
The camp is not enough.
I don't think it's enough. On self-defense, you need to know those defense tactics, what you do when you're in danger and all that. So I think it will go a long way to kind of curb some of these menace that we find ourselves. You know, like one thing that's really make this to escalate is the crowdfunding. And in the past, you hear that somebody has been kidnapped. The next thing, they begin to negotiate on how to get the person out. But now, they just pick anybody randomly. Then, before you know it, people start donating money to release to get these persons out. So that kind of send a strong message to these persons that, we can just pick anybody.
We can pick. So now they're not targeting the elite. They're not
They don't
targeting
even
children
target
of the
the
rich.
elite.
They're just picking anybody now.
At random, they pick anybody.
And that when this crowdfunding thing happens on social media and all of those places, it means these people are there too.
They are everywhere. A video was trending some days ago about a bandit that has a TikTok account.
Oh wow.
Yes, it was trending, and one begins to wonder, how come the security agencies are not able to track these persons? You know, some persons begin to wonder, because I saw a documentary of a journalist who went to their den to interview them. So does it mean we don't have intelligence that could really get their locations? Okay, so these are some of the questions we need to really interrogate.
Because
We
if
need
you're
to
on
find,
TikTok, you're using a smartphone.
of course.
The GPS was probably on, and all of those things for all the geolocation purposes. But let's move away from that. Still on the matter anyway. In the past, Abuja used to be one of the most secure towns. I happened to be in Kaduna when it was a war-torn zone. I happened to be in Plateau when it was too. And you know that a lot of us at that time, the first thing in your mind is, let us move to Abuja, where it is safe. And these people didn't have the audacity. Now we're supposed to be developing. We're supposed to be going more intelligence and everything. What do we think is giving these people the audacity right now to infiltrate Abuja at this point?
Well, I think the security agent need to really do a whole lot of work to find out who is behind all of this, because with the kind of audacity they have to come into Abuja, well, I'm not even surprised, because you talked about Kaduna. Kaduna have most of the security agencies there, right? We have the NDA. We have all manner of security agents. Their headquarters is in Kaduna, but you still see these things
happening there.
All right. So I think it's high time we begin to embrace state policing, and community policing, because if you need people who really understands the area, you need somebody from within that community. That person can be able to tell you that this particular route leads to this place and all that, because the kind of system we practice now is not, I don't think it's really yielding much result. I mean, how do you bring an officer, let's say, for example, a police officer from Sokoto, you bring him to Abuja, he doesn't know the areas. Like they say in Hausa, the lungus. Okay, he doesn't know those lungus. So you need somebody from that community policing. They will be the ones to tell you that, okay, for this person taking through this route, he'll come out through this place. So let's go through this place. So we need to be smart and intelligent about this. Yes, the issue, we can equally use drones to monitor their movement. And there are cases where we've read about how they will make demands and tell you they need an Okada. If you are coming to pay for ransom, they need a Jinchan and all that. How come, some persons will be thinking, how come they are not putting some chips in those Jinchan to track their location and all that? So
exactly.
I think the security agencies need to do a whole lot to unravel what is going on, because people no longer sleep with their both eyes closed.
Yeah. All right. So still on some security matters. We know the news of the bombing in Ibadan claimed over 20 houses, and unfortunately 5 lives have been lost in that bombing. It's unclear right now what the cause of the bombing is. In your own opinion, what do you think has caused that, and how can that be prevented from occurring again?
Well, I would like to stick to what the government has said, because they said it's illegal mining from Somalians. I begin to wonder how
Is that a mining
foreigners will get into your country and begin to mine your resources illegally. And the place where this thing happened, Bodija, is a highbrow area.
Exactly.
It's not like it's a slum where people just troop in anyhow and do whatever they want. So it gives a source of concern. They need to really investigate some more to find out what really happened in that area. It's just like saying someone will come to Metama and begin to mine illegally. I mean, and mining, for one, is part of what has really given birth to banditry, because in the north, we know how some of these things happen. We had stories of how the bandits started from those areas. They come, they mine, they're able to get some precious gold, and they sold them to fund and whatever. So I think the government needs to look into that, because you cannot just come into our country and begin to mine. Where is the immigration? Where are the custom? I mean, custom should even be alert, and they should wake up to their duties, not just chasing rice at night, going to people's shop to boggle their shop that some illegal products are in the country and all that. So they should really do their job. Check some of this person, the NIN, that they forced everybody to go register your SIM and all that.
This is when
it should come to play now. It should come to play. We want to see all this being put into place. Okay,
Right.
because the Nigerians suffered a lot to go through this registration. It is time to use
It's
them.
time to use it, yes. And a lot of funding too was,
Of
a lot
course.
of money, a lot of
Went
allocation
into
was
it.
went into, yeah. So we need to put that to use. All right, let's take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll be getting your views and analysis on the student loan that we hear is to commence this January. All right, join me again right after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Viewer Exclusive here on Viewer Television, and I'm still in conversation with Mr. Ejiro Onuata, political commentator. All right, so before we went on the break, like I was mentioning, let's get your, as a lecturer, let's get your views on the student loan. We know this bill was passed sometime in 2023, right? And we remember the government saying that students will be able to access this loan in September. And then we got another date. And now we're getting January now. So what are the facts on ground that will let us, to help us see that actually people can access these loans in January?
Well, they've said that one of the criteria is that you must be a Nigerian schooling in a tertiary institution in Nigeria for you to be able to access the loan, and it will take you within 30 days to complete and get your the money. We just hope everything they've said will happen that way, because we know in Nigeria we have beautiful policies, but implementation is always a problem, you know. And a lot of persons, I must tell you, really need to access this loan because the times are hard. Like some persons will tell you, you know, we've seen that some persons, even when the school fees, in fact, there's one angle to it that I need to bring to it for you to understand. Immediately the student loan was announced,
Yes.
tuition fee skyrocketed.
Yes.
I don't know if you know about
Yes,
that.
it did.
A lot of
Yes.
schools begin to increase their tuition fee because they're already anticipating that, okay, there will be enough money in the system for students to be able to access and further their education. So I think the government should match their talk, you know. They should be able to ensure that the son of a common man, the son of a nobody, is able to get this loan, because in other clients, like in the United States and thereabouts, we've seen that a lot of persons went through school and the government was able to fund their education. Okay, over time they pay, and that's another kettle of fish altogether, because it's one thing to go through school, it's another thing to get a job. So I think the government should be looking in that direction as well. You know, there's not just enough to go get the certificate. Okay, if you ask me, and this is my personal opinion, I think while some persons are in school, they should equally learn skill acquisition, because we've seen that some persons will graduate, because it seems like the kind of education we get here is just give you the mentality of when you graduate, you get a white collar job. and it's
Do
not.
all theoretical stuff.
Yes, but I think everything should be practical. We should start looking at how to get things done. All right? So we should start looking towards that direction. While in school, at least get something doing, something outside school to complement.
When you say we should start acquiring skills, are you trying to say that even in tertiary education, we should expand our curriculum
Yes.
to cover skills? So even if you're studying something professional, you should pick something by the side, welding or something else alongside with your course of study.
Yes, it can be designed in such a way that people go for industrial training. All right? It can be designed in such a way that you have time, maybe 1 to 3 months, to go learn something additional to whatever you're reading. Like while I was in school, I learned sculpture.
Okay.
Yes. So I think, and
But that was not supported by the school.
it's not supported by the school. It was my own. I needed, okay, because there's no way you go through school in Nigeria that you will not encounter one strike or the other. So during my time, we had like 9-month strike.
Yeah.
So I had to go learn sculpture. And today is more like a side hustle that I can rely on to get something from it. So I think every student should have that mentality that education is not just for you to finish and get a white collar job. Education is supposed to empower you, okay, when you come out, so that you become very versatile to think for yourself and do something creative that can give you money.
There's really been a lot of emphasis on skill acquisition and all that. So I'm hoping that students themselves even pick up the initiative like you did and begin to learn skills alongside getting their formal education. Still talking about education, recently we got the report that JAMB has asked that people living with disabilities should register for JAMB for free, right? And we know how the system can be. Should the government put checks, boots on the ground, to make sure that these people who are living with disabilities really are able to register for free? But firstly, what's your take on that that decision by the JAMB?
I think it's a very brilliant decision. I mean, it's high time we begin to create room for people living with disability, because you see some of these persons are very brilliant, very skillful, but just because they are disabled, people tend to not give them the same chance they desire. I think it's a very brilliant one, and the government should really put checks in place. In fact, the society should begin to look at, because there are some buildings you go these days, people with disability can't access some of these buildings. So I think JAMB, starting in this way, every other organization should begin to look at ways to empower some of these disabled persons, because they too, they need education. And the government as well. I want to say government that in your cabinet, you have some disabled persons, because they too can offer something to the society. They are disabled, they know how it feels to be disabled, so they should be able to make laws or take decisions that will favor people living with disability. So I think it's kudos for JAMB, but the government must put some checks in place to ensure.
Can you help us with checks like?
There must be persons. There must be persons that will go around, or there must be a desk created by the government in JAMB office to ensure that indeed these persons don't pay for that form, because it's one thing to come out and say something. Then when you get there, you meet another different thing altogether. They'll tell you, oh, that's just a pronouncement by somebody, they are not aware of it, and all that. So I think the government should ensure that these persons really get this form for free. I mean, we should be looking towards that direction, because we don't want stories. You get there and then they tell you a different story.
Tell you a different story, yes. And to also ensure that these people come out are really people living with disabilities, because we will now have people coming in, of course, maybe for lack of funds, coming in pretense to be disabled so that they can get their JAMB registrations for free.
So So they run tests now to test if this person is really disabled.
Well, they will just have to do their checks. They just and I think like you said, government should begin to. I think in some states we've seen people living with disabilities in some cabinets. I think Nasarawa State House of Assembly, they have somebody in the chamber. I think he's even a majority leader or something like that.
When you say
so,
the House of Assembly, it means the person probably contested for an election and he won, right?
Yes.
I'm talking of appointments.
Appointments.
Yes. In your cabinet, as a governor, as a president, let's see some persons living with disability. Because, yes, the guy in Nasarawa State probably has money or has a connection. It's not everybody living with disability that has that have that kind of connection. So we want to see a conscious effort, deliberately picking somebody
to come.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So talking on appointments and seeing people in, let's take our eyes to the Ministry of Works. Recently, like a few days ago, it was on the news that the budget allocation increased by 373 billion naira to make the budget 1.03 trillion naira. Well, for this amount of bogus budget, what should our expectations be from that ministry? Because they have said that most of this is allocated to federal roads. What should we begin to see happen?
Well, it means the whole of Nigeria should become a construction site. Because, you know, if you go, there are some roads that are not just motorable. Yes, you try to maneuver your way there. In fact, some of these kidnappers take advantage of those bad roads because they know you must definitely slow down.
Yes.
So
yes.
Why some will pretend to be fixing the roads and people just bump into them.
So
and
good road is part of security.
So it's good road is part of security. So the government, giving this kind of money, we want to see everything working perfectly. I mean, one of the perfect roads I have applied in the last 3 months is the Abuja-Makurdi road.
Okay.
Yes, that's Nasarawa, Abuja-Makurdi. That road is perfect, smooth.
There's a road leading up to Akwanga.
Yes, that road is very smooth. I think every road in Nigeria should look like that.
It was done by the state government.
Well, if it means you copying from the state government, they should do it. All right. The person in the helm of affair, that's the former governor of, that's the Minister of Works,
Dave Umahi.
Well, given that what we've seen that him done for a state, I believe he will be able to do this. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and we hope and pray that actually they'll do what they say they want to do. I mean, the citizens should not just go and sit down. There must be accountability. Okay? It's not enough for somebody to come out these days and tell you, I will do ABC without the citizens following the money. You must follow the money. You must account. You must ask questions. And you must get answered. The Freedom of Information Bill is out there. Go and ask questions. How many roads have you been able to construct? There should be time limit. Okay, this road, will do it within 6 months. We should be able to wrap this up. Citizens, follow up and ensure that is done.
How do we follow up? Is there a desk in the ministry where we can go to find out what's happening?
No. You going to the desk is one part of it, but being on ground, going to verify is another part, because there are some politicians that will snap pictures and take it to media men and say, oh, we've done this road, we've done. Even the media, there must be investigative journalism.
To follow
follow up. Now, in this era of technology, when we have social media and the rest, there's no place that you can't find human being living, existing. If you say you build a road in Potiskum, then there are people in Potiskum that should be able to verify, upload it, and show us. If you say, because I saw one road that, I think the Enugu, I can't remember, Enugu Highway or something like that. That road is something else. It's something else. It's terrible. So I think the government needs to really look at some of these roads, to really give attention to some of these roads, because it's not pliable. They're just something else.
Roads. They're really not pliable, especially when you go towards the east, Niger Delta, all of those
roads are really bad.
Very deplorable states. All right, so let's move on to other matters. Let's move on to economic matters now. President Bola Tinubu has recently said that Nigeria is on the verge of economic recovery and prosperity. as he has promised us a renewed hope as his agenda for this 4 years, this 4 years in government. And I'm trying to draw parallels with recently, as the dollar has hit 1,355 naira. How are we going to get out of this? Because we're seeing multinationals leaving the country. We're seeing Nigerians outside of the country looking for investment, even though they have said now that, oh, they are not begging for investment, but we have seen these things happening. Is there really a way to get that we're really moving into economic prosperity in the country?
Well, I think the president, in his own wisdom, should understand what he's talking about. I mean, he has been a governor, two-time governor of Lagos State, and Lagos, to me, is more like a mini Nigeria. All right. So if you really assess what he was able to achieve in Lagos State, probably he should be able to replicate that in Nigeria as a whole. Some of us felt, okay, we don't want to judge him too soon because given what the situation he met on ground, you know, he's not a magician, you know. I'm not holding brief for him, but sometimes we need to be realistic. He's not a magician. I don't think he will be able to do this within 4 years.
But he is the one saying that we are on to economic
It's one
recovery.
thing for him to say that. It's another thing for us to assess what he's saying because we can think for ourselves. I don't think that can be done within 4 years. But he should be able to hit the ground running, you know, put a lot of machinery in place. I was thinking he will bring some technocrats. During the Obasanjo regime, we saw how he brought Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. We saw the big names he brought into the game. I was thinking President Tinubu would have told the same part, you know, go over the world because there's no place in the world that you won't see Nigerians doing well. So I was thinking we'll be in that era where he will go around and pick some of these persons to come really help our economy. I mean, just yesterday I saw somewhere in the news where Abia State Governor has decided to make some big names into his economic team. I think Lamido Sanusi is part of that team, if I'm not mistaken, and one or two persons. So imagine if a state governor can be doing that. In another 4 years, I believe the state will be better off economically. So I want to see President Tinubu do the same. Okay, he must walk the talk. Okay, get some of these big shots all over the world. You know, he can bring Femi, is it Adesina? Adesina of the African Development Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, he could equally bring Okonjo-Iweala. Some of these persons, we still have more of their likes out there. So he can really go out, get these persons to come fix the economy because what we've seen now is just a political appointee. Persons who worked for him and maybe it's time to pay back.
It was just a reshuffle.
Because the reshuffle, some of these persons, they've been governor before. Some of them didn't even win their state. What does that tell you? It tells you that probably some persons in those states didn't really feel they've delivered enough. So you bringing them to a bigger platform to, well, what do you expect? So that's why I'm saying that I don't think within 4 years he'll be able to achieve this.
Because the things we know he's not a magician, but there are some certain moves that we see you make initially that will set the tone for what we are supposed to expect.
Like you said, the dollar, how much is the dollar now?
I think it hit its highest of 1,355.
So what are we saying? What are we even exporting aside crude oil?
Yeah.
Aside crude oil. See, there are some things I think the president should borrow from. During the campaign, we heard a particular presidential candidate say he's going to turn Niger State into a farm hub. We could go into, because Niger State has the largest landmarks in the whole of Nigeria. So he could borrow into that, turn Niger State into a farm hub where agriculture will now be the mainstay because we pay so much attention on oil because it brings quick money and all that.
It's time to really diversify that economy. And
I
think we're seeing the governor of Niger State really putting a lot of emphasis on agriculture. But let's keep that thought. We'll come back and go more into more conversations. Thank you for sticking with us. It's time now for another short break on VR Television. Join us again. right, thank you for staying with us on Viewer Exclusive here on Viewer Television, and I'm still in conversation with Mr. Ejiro Nueta. Yes, and we've been having a long conversation. So let's begin to round this up now. Let's move into political matters right now. We saw Mr. Pat Otomi come on national TV to affirm or to confirm a measure of certain parties that we know, PDP, Labour Party, and the NNPP. First of all, let me get your reaction on that. If there is a possible measure somewhere, what do you think that stands for the political scene in Nigeria?
Well, it will be fantastic because it will give the APC a run for their money.
Okay.
We saw how the APC was able to achieve that. Then they have the AD, the CPC, and one of the APGA and the rest. They came together, and today they are in power. So if the PDP, the Labour Party, and the NNPP, if they are serious, then this measure should take place, because during the last election, there was this most likely measure that didn't really take place between the Labour Party and the NNPP. You know, it's more like a collaboration than a collusion, not a measure, because it seems like if you're talking of a measure, that means the party must collapse their structure and become one. So if they are able to do that, I think one of the crises they will have is who is going to flag.
Exactly, because that's another question that I like to put to you, which I put to a lot of people. If there is a measure, we're looking at these three people who came out as flag bearers for these parties in the 2023 elections. We have Alhaji Atiku, we have Peter Obi, and we have Kwankwaso. These are people of, if let me just give it to them, these are people of three diverse ideologies. And these are men who would want to, what do you think would happen when it comes to who is going to be the party leader, who is going to be the flag bearer, who is going to be all of that for this party?
Well, it's going to be quite a struggle because these are three giants you just mentioned, people with heavy name, you know. If you look at the past election, you discover that Peter Obi is very popular in the South, but I think where he didn't really get enough votes is from the North. And who is in the North? You're talking of people like the NNPP man, the Konkosia movement. You know, you can see the margin they got in the last election in Kano State alone. Yeah. So if it's possible to have a Peter Obi and a Konkoso, it will be a perfect combination. But who is going to step down for who? Will be the problem. And then there's an Alhaji Atiku who has been there contesting since 1993. So he's not somebody who just push aside. Except if an Alhaji Atiku decide to say, okay, let me support Obi and Konkoso. Okay, so I believe at that point, the both of them should be able to mend issues to find who probably will come out for the president and who will deputize the other. So I think that's where the problem will be. It's not really just coming together. Yes, if you come together, who is going to step down for the other? The last time we saw a Konkoso say, I'm not going to step down for an Obi. All right? And then Obi left PDP because he wants to run for the presidency.
Atiku, you mean?
Peter Obi.
You said we didn't see Kwankwaso step down
for Obi.
For Obi.
When they were talking about the measure.
Okay.
Now, Peter Obi left PDP because he didn't get the ticket.
Yes.
And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar wants to make him his vice. But that didn't happen because he felt he's as good as being the president as well. So he went to Labour Party. So I think that is where the bottleneck is. And then let's not take for granted that Alhaji Bola Tinubu, our president, is a very skillful politician. He's an experienced politician. I don't think the APC will just sit back there and watch this measure go smoothly because you see in politics, yes, they say politics is a dirty game, but it depends on how you play it. These guys are very experienced, and I believe they might want to put one or two stunts that will make this measure not really happen because they know what will happen if this measure scale through.
Okay, so let's begin to round up now. So if you said something about them coming together, the measure, who leads and who doesn't lead. So we're already foreseeing that there's going to be a power tussle when we get to that point. But let's talk about the numbers now. Like you've said, how Kwankwaso swept Kano, how Peter Obi made it in the East and the rest. Is it just enough to have numbers to win? Because I asked you a question and you didn't touch on that about the ideologies too. What are these parties going to, because we know what they all stood for, their manifestos. What are they going to come together to bring to the table alongside these numbers that they have?
Let me not lie you, there's no ideology anywhere in Nigerian politics. It's all about numbers. Politics in Nigeria is all about the numbers and personal interests.
So why do we even need another party?
Well, the thing is, you see, they'll tell you, oh, we are not okay with this party, let's try the next one. It's more like a trying game. You keep trying. When you're not okay with Mr. A, you look at Mr. B. And so let's forget about ideology for now. I don't think they'll come out, they'll tell you all manner of things, give you all manner of promises, but when it's time to deliver, it's another ball game. You see, he who wear the shoes know where it pinches. Some persons are not in power yet, they'll promise you heaven and earth. But when they get there, just like Ruben Abati said in one of his quotes, that it seems like there's something in Aso Rock that makes leaders not to keep to their word. So I will not be surprised when some of these persons who are not in power now, when they get there, they probably might not do much.
All right. So, but the hope is that one day in Nigeria, we see political parties that are run based on ideologies and not numbers.
Of course, it will happen in our lifetime. I remember I asked you this question, whether there is a hope. There is a hope.
So let's keep that hope.
There is a
Maybe
hope.
Our next conversation, we'll talk about how we can begin to get people who can revolutionize the political scene. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're out of time right now, yes. So we'll have to round up. It's always wonderful having your views and analysis here on Viewer Exclusive. Thank you very much for joining me. I've been in conversation with Mr. Ejiro Onweta, lecturer at the City Polytechnic, Abuja, and also a political commentator. And I've been your host, Chino. So check us until I come your way again. Have a good day.